What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. I am finally back after my whole 2 months of being absent. I've had final exams with college, but I'm done now, so it's time for this channel to really start going places. But yeah, I'm finally back, and in today's video we are going to be reviewing and looking over the new Loki Bass plugin by Solemn Tones. Before I start on this video, I do want to talk a little bit about what I'm going to be doing with the channel. If you couldn't care less about any of that, I will put a time on the screen now for where you can skip to for the review to actually start. So for those of you who have stuck around, I'm just going to be saying a little bit about the sort of schedule of uploading that I want to try and follow, and I want to be trying to do a review or a cover of some sort, uploading on Mondays, either every week or every fortnight, and then a tutorial, mixing tutorial of some sort on a topic that's either requested by you guys or that I've got that I want to cover that I think is important to cover, and that's going to be on a Thursday. Again, either every week or every fortnight. I'll probably switch between weeks and fortnight because we all know that I'm not very consistent with my uploading, but I'll get better certainly. That's basically all I wanted to say, really. So without further ado, let's get into this video. So the new Loki Bass plugin by Solemn Tones, here it is, this gorgeous little plugin thing here. Oh, it is amazing. I've been playing with it. I got it like 2 days ago, and I've been blown away with it. It's absolutely amazing. Let me give you a demo quickly of what it sounds like in the context of a mix, and then I'll play it with just the bass and just the drums. If we listen to just the bass and the drums to give you an idea of what it sounds like on its own in the context that I've created it in, using my tone that I've come up with based on what I've been playing with it in the past couple of days. And there we have it. So as you can hear, it is a very good sounding sample set. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Solemn Tones products, Solemn Tones is a fantastic, more recent plugin and sample set company to have come onto the scene with the drum plugins and the Odin guitar specifically as well, Odin guitar and Odin guitar deluxe for Contact and as a standalone, that are both really amazing drum and guitar sample sets that sound realistic and accurate to what a real guitar would sound like, which obviously are really helpful for if you're doing a heavy like electro metal, really heavily edited thing, or anything like that. It's perfect for the context of that, or even if you just wanted to use it for writing and getting a decent tone for the demos and tracks that you might be writing to pitch to a band or to a label or anything like that. It will get the plugins that this guy's making are gonna get you that sound. They're genuinely worth every penny. So if we jump into the Loki Bass plugin here, first thing that I want to talk about is the sample set. It's a pretty sure it's a Dingwall NG2, which is Nolly Get Good, the ex-bassist of Periphery, his signature bass model, recorded on a 5-string all the way down to double drop C. So you've got all of those really deep bassy experimental notes that you can play about with, no matter how low you want to tune to. Like this thing will do your pop punk, it'll do your rock, and it'll do your heaviest of gent. If you didn't recognize the song, this song was 350 by Veil of Maya. I just whacked together a little demo of it to sort of test out what the different tones of the bass will sound like, and I've been playing about with it, and I am more than satisfied so far with how things are turning out. With the way I've got my bass set up, quickly before I go into the actual plugin, I've got, if you've seen anything on the Solemn Tones Loki Bass in Maxime's video that he did of an overview of it, there's a section where he talks about how a common thing for mix engineers to do would be to split the high end and low end of a bass and actually replace the low end of the bass with a sine wave, because it will keep the low end more consistent. I've chosen to do this in this case because low end is often one of those things that's really tricky to get a consistent thick low end that's going to hold the whole mix together. So in the case of this mix, I have split it apart. If I mute that sectioned off bass and just give you a listen to what I've got going on with just the raw Solemn Tones tone. Now I've got a really heavy tone going on there. The way I'm doing that, I'm using the Dark Glass Ultra modern deluxe pedal from Neural DSP. Great plugin as well. I'll be doing a review for that next week, so stay tuned. But yeah, if I turn off all of the effects that I've got on that channel so we can just listen to the raw tone of the bass. So we've got to start with the different styles of the bass tone that we can get. We've got a finger picking. There's three different sample sets. You've got Maxime's bass tone, which was done using, again, a Dark Glass pedal, but the actual analog version of it, and not a Neural DSP plugin or anything like that. The physical, I think it was a Microtubes something or other. I can't remember off the top of my head, but using a Dark Glass pedal nonetheless. I'll just give you a listen to what that sounds like. Quite a beefy tone, very nicely put together. He's done a fantastic job again on sampling that, and the fact that the amount of time and effort that he's put into sampling this bass and all the different tones, it really is good value for money. So yeah, Maxime's bass. Then you've got the raw DI, which is literally just a raw picked bass tone. Taken the bass, plugged it straight into a DI box and just hit it with the pick. Got all the samples like that. I'll give you a listen to what that sounds like. And then we've got finger picking, which is obviously if you are a bassist yourself and you're watching this video, or anyone who knows anything about how to play the bass, usually when you're playing a sort of classical bass style, you'll be using your fingers to pluck the strings more than you'll be using a pick to bash them. That's not so common in metal, but in the context of this Veil of Maya song, the bassist for Veil of Maya does choose to use finger picking over actual picking, and so I thought for this specific test I would use the finger picking samples to try and get a closer sound to what the actual DI from the Veil of Maya bassist might be like, given their style of playing. So we'll just listen to that one as well. So there we are. That is the 3 sample sets that you've got. All of them fantastically recorded. Literally, I can't complain about any of them. I think for the majority of this review, we'll stick with the Maxime bass tone, just so we can be focusing purely on what you can get out of the box in terms of a fully mix-ready bass tone. Not have to worry about any post-processing that I've done or anything like that, just the fresh out the box Maxime bass tone with the Loki bass. So the next controls that we've got, down in the bottom left of the screen here, you can see that we've got a bit of an EQ panel. where you've got a low, mid, and high, pretty standard. Except the low knob is controlling the sub frequencies, so the really low, sort of below 300 hertz type thing, real low sub frequencies. Mids are actually the low mids. They'll be controlling probably between 300 up to, insert arbitrary value here, the low mid section. And then the high is going to be your clanky, beefy, sort of higher mids / high frequency range that's going to get you the clank that you are looking for in a really aggressive, beefy bass tone. So you can choose to actually take that out. If you want to go for a softer bass tone, you might be doing a clean part in a song. You could take out that high clank and aggression and just keep it as a nice, calm bass tone, which is really fantastic. It makes it out to be a really versatile piece of kit here. So the next thing that I want to go on to is actually this Humanized knob, which if you've used any of the other Solemn Tones plugins before, you'll know that this is a standard feature of the plugins, and is does what it says on the tin really. It's there to make it sound more human. So I'll hit play on this sample again. I'll just turn it up and down. You can hear the difference that it's making to the dynamics and the sort of intervals between notes and various slide noises and things like that. So, as you can hear, it is mainly there to vary the dynamic level of the different notes, to sort of make it sound more human and not like it's just a robot bashing out notes on a keyboard or a MIDI instrument, which it is, which is a fantastic tool. I find the sweet spot is about 2.5, between 2.5, maybe 3.5, but at the moment for this one I've got it set at 2.5, just below 3, and that gets me a nice sort of consistent sound that doesn't sound completely robotic, which is good. Now over here in this panel, sort of central bottom, we've got 3 controls called crank, raw, and enforce. Starting with crank, go from the top down. Crank is basically, the way that Maxime described it in his overview video, is a lot of people when programming MIDI don't think about the what's called velocity, the velocity of notes that they're programming in. You might be just taking in a Guitar Pro MIDI, or you might get sent a MIDI by someone else where the note velocity just isn't at the point where you want it to be. It isn't as high as it could be, or there's loads of variation in it, and you want to have it consistent. The crank setting here takes the velocity of all the notes. It basically turns velocity off and sets everything to the max it could be. So you're getting the most hard hit that you could get from that bass sample, if you get what I'm saying. So there'll be no variation in the velocity across the notes. It just pushes them, beefs them all right up to the top, and gives you the most aggressive punchy tone you can get out of that. The raw feature, now I think this feature is fantastic, but it can go wrong in places. The raw setting is there to make it, again, what it says on the tin, make the bass sound raw. So it's another humanization sort of tool. It throws in some artifacts, a few string slides or pick noises every now and again in appropriate places to make it sound more like a human is playing the bass. Now for this demo I did have it turned on, especially in this section, because I think it works nicely. If I just give you a listen to it with and without. And then without it. Just adds in a little bit of humanization in there. The enforce button then, that we've got, the third and final option, that is basically, like I was saying before, as Maxime said in his video as well, and as I said earlier on this video, sometimes you replace the low frequency with the sine wave to keep it more consistent. Enforce does that for you, basically. It is only a setting on the Maxime bass tone and the Maxime bass tone alone. If you're using the raw DI or you're using the finger picking DI, then the enforce option, as you can see here, is going to be grayed out, so you won't be able to use it with one of those. You have to be using Maxime's bass tone if you want to make use of the enforce. It is a good feature, although I wouldn't personally use it, just because I like to play about with the bass tone and change my bass tone, use different pedals, EQs, compression, various different things when I'm creating a bass tone in the context of a mix. So yeah, it's personal preference really. I'll give you a listen to what it sounds like on and off, like I did before with the rest of the settings, and yeah, here you go. So as you can hear, it just makes the bass tone a lot thicker and more consistent in the low end, like I was saying about how the sine wave does that in terms of keeping your low end consistent, which is an important thing that I'll probably cover in a future video. If you want to know about that, again, leave me a comment or send me a message and I'll get on to making a video for that for you. The final feature that we have of the Loki Bass plugin are the key switches. Now, these basically, they're pretty self-explanatory. It's basically a case of, while this key is pressed down, this is the style of playing that you will experience. So if you have, I've got an example of it over here in this bit of MIDI programming. If I just move the window out of the way, we've got a section here that makes use of muting, which is, as you can see on here, the mute key is set to F. When I was using the finger picking, we can see that D sharp is the mute key. And for these glitch notes, before we go into the breakdown, if I just play you what that sounds like, that little glitch bit there, I wanted to have the bass tone be muted, so it's more like a instead of a actual note, just so it fit a little bit better with the general tone and mood of the song. Now you've got a lot of versatility with the various key switches that you've got. You've got mutes, 3 different types of mutes. You've got harmonics, tapping, scrapes, alternate picking, index finger and middle finger picking, raw DIs. You've got up and down instead of which finger you're using. Obviously alternate picking will be up and down. For a finger DI it would be left and right finger, or index and middle finger. And then Maxime's bass tone has the same key switch settings as the raw DI. Very versatile tool, sounds very realistic in the context of a mix, and I would highly recommend going ahead and grabbing yourself a copy of this while it's on sale. It's currently on sale from, I believe, $110 down to $79, I believe, $79 down from $110. That is a steal, if you ask me. So go out and grab yourself a copy while you still got the chance before that sale ends. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you have any questions about the plugin that I haven't covered in the video that you want to know more about, leave me a comment or send me a message and I'll get back to you and let you know. And yeah, thanks very much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video.